Okay, I'm going to try and bust one of these open and see what it looks like inside. They've cooled down for about 30 minutes. Maybe not quite that long. So, not too bad. It doesn't look like much got out. I had to glue this one back together. That's why there's all this extra plaster on the side, because I poured it in two pieces and that was a mistake. So I'm going to drop this over in here and I'm going to smack it for a while and see what comes out. Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job with the phone, but on the other hand, the important thing here is the mold, not the documentation. Hate to say it, but sorry y'all. There's definitely something in there. Okay, let's hit this for a while. I'm doing this, by the way, instead of using water because I read an interesting article about how you can recover the crap from a casting if it's plaster of Paris based and reuse it. And I thought that would be pretty cool. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this is because green sand is a pain in the neck to work with. Oh, wow. You know what? That doesn't look too bad. This is still probably too hot to touch. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Wow, that's really hot, in fact. But you can kind of see what it's going to look like. So there are my two pieces. Oh, way too hot to touch. So I'll keep whacking on a little bit. This part I have to be more careful with. So here you can see the main sprue line that I poured down. These are the vent lines that I made out of wax. And this is the main piece that I'm really intending to get. So these are just two little kind of F-shaped things. And this piece right here, this opening right here, clamps on the bed of my lathe. And then this section down here attaches to a DRO that I have. So I don't know, but those look pretty good. I'm going to have to do a lot more cleanup on them, but I think that looks pretty nice. I'm going to have to use both hands, so I'm going to have to turn off the phone for a while, but hey, I'm pretty pleased with this. This thing's still about 250, 300 degrees, but you know what? I am really pleased with that particular piece of casting. So these things right here are risers so that the metal, as it contracts and cools, it will feed from these things. This is the main sprue. This is the channel that the metal poured through. So the idea here is the metal comes in through here, pours through these guys, and then fills in the main casting. And in this case, the main casting is just these little pieces here. There's actually more extraneous stuff here than there is casting, but I'm just kind of playing around with some ideas with this in terms of how I set up a casting. So the idea here with filling from the bottom is that when you do that, you've got this large chunk of aluminum oxide skin that is over the top of the entire aluminum melt, and it expands upwards into this, so you get one layer of skin kind of expanding up into all this stuff, like this gigantic water balloon expanding. And the reason I like that is because if you pour in the top, all these aluminum things go off this way and this way and this way, and it's like having a whole bunch of little tiny aluminum rubber gloves, essentially, with all these tiny little aluminum oxide layers around them all pouring in over top of each other. So you don't really have a solid piece of aluminum then. What you've got is all these little pieces of aluminum oxide with aluminum in them, all kind of interdigitated. So they hold together mechanically, but they're not as strong as a single casting that has a single layer of aluminum oxide all around it, which is why I like molds that pour from the bottom.